Welcome to Just Yoga and to my YouTube channel. I really hope you feel at home here. This channel is made for you if you're not into picture perfect yoga and you just want to relax in a kind of homey, comfortable atmosphere. So welcome. Today's practice is, I would call, lower back therapy. And it's just yoga and it's yoga as I would teach it in a gym or wherever. If you are someone who wants to pray or meditate, you can do it before or maybe after moving with me. Now come to the top end of the mat, hip width distance, and I like to start my time with a little bit of just breathing to kind of settle in, get ready to move here on the mat. So soften your knees. Bring your shoulder blades up and a little bit back and let your palms face forward without really lifting your arms out to the side. And of course, you're welcome to side out as a prayer or as a release. Maybe you need to release pain in your lower back. Breathing in and out through your nose if possible, and trying to get that breath down to the depth of your lung and expand this big thing of a balloon we have in the lungs, like really expanding, going deep. And as you exhale, kind of moving things back, squeezing the lungs a little bit. Now, if you have back pain issues, I hope you will talk to somebody who knows a lot about it to figure out what's wrong. So be a little bit gentle with the movements here. Maybe you make them smaller than I do. But now take your hands down on your thigh, lean a little bit forward, and then arch your back as you move further to the front. Take your chin towards your chest and round your back. It's almost like a cat-cow in standing version, coming into high mountain with your hands out to the side on the top of your head. And let's get those cactus hands moving. So bend the elbows and move into a 90-degree angle with your elbows and move your shoulder blades back. Then lean a little bit to the front. Again, arching your back. So we're going to do this a few times. So really like poking your hip back. And then the opposite side. Tucking in your navel. Engage your core, really navel in towards the spine as if it could reach. Take your arms above your head. And then your cactus hands. And hands on the thigh, moving down, pointing your hip to the back. And then tucking your hip underneath, making yourself as short as you can as you move up. Reaching your arms up, top of the shoulders here. Cactus hands, spreading out your fingers 2 more times through. Leaning maybe with a little bit more, bigger movement. Catting your way up. Hands out to the side, maybe a look up, or maybe a tiny back bend here as you use your cactus arms. Last time through. And noticing what your spine is telling you. Is this great for you? Or do you need to pause a little bit and adjust? Cactus hands. And take your hands down by your side. From standing pose here, hip width distance in between your feet. Move your left arm up above your head and take your right arm here down by your thighs and then move to your right side. Don't overdo this. Engage your core so that your navel's a little bit in. Move back and then we do that again. So exhale to your right side. Inhale up. A little bit of mobility here. Moving down and up. This is actually also a core exercise, but as we don't have any weight, you might not feel it that much. last time. And opposite side. Okay, hands down by your side and move to your left side. And no deep movements here, okay? Don't overdo this. We're not warm yet. And if you happen to have love handles here, you can feel them as you move to the side. Just speak nicely to them. Think of them with grace. Be grateful for food that you can have instead of being annoyed. One last time. All right, hand down by your side. Sink down in your chair pose a little bit. Don't do anything with your arms as we're going to lean forward. This is why I wanted you to go into chair pose first, because then your knees are bended and you would probably, your fingers can reach down and find the mat. Now then, if you want to stretch out your legs a little bit more, of course you can do that. Now our backs are a wonderful thing, but it's also hard to pinpoint what might be your issue with your back. It might be imbalances on left and right side. I'll get back to that a little bit later. All right, bend further down in your knees and plant your palms down on the mat and stepping your feet back, coming into tabletop. Now flatten your back, navel in. Here, if you didn't do anything, most of us would just sack down and hold your tabletop like this. This is more relaxing. But it's actually kind of hard on our back. And a lot of people have that issue with their back, that they're walking like this also when they're walking. So the hips are moving out, and this is the way they walk. Now some of us has the other direction issues, so kind of rounding our back like this. Not good for the spine either. So you want to find that middle position, which requires some focus on your core. So we practice that here. If you, like me, want extra support for your knees, you can fold your mat. For that sake, we're going to stay here for just a little bit. Reach out your right leg to the back and again involve your core. Take a look back to see if the toes are pointing down. Hand stays on the mat, and then you draw your knee in towards your chest. Around your back, move this time your spine towards the sky, and then flat back as you shoot your foot back. And this will do a few times. If you want to follow with your breath, welcome to do that. So this is not a cat-cow, it's basically flat, and then your cat pose. We do this to strengthen our core and also to strengthen our glutes, as strong glutes are important aspects of having a healthy back, because our glutes support the pelvis and everything going on from there where the spine is connected to our legs, so to say. Stop that movement. Maybe move a little bit freely. If your wrists are sore, you can come up on your fists for this one. Exactly the same, the opposite side, but we're going to take a little bit slow. So extend the leg out. Again, closing your hip, navel in. And then draw the knee under, chin towards your chest. And continue with this movement. Now, a lot of us tends to fall out on our hip, the standing leg. We want to try to have the knee and hip somewhat aligned. Now, my hip might be a little bit squeezed out to the side, but not too much. So think of hugging this thigh into the bone or into the joint. 2 more times. And lowering down, and maybe you want to move a little bit freely here. and down dog. Now we're getting hopefully warm. Spreading out your fingers, lifting up your hip. Now, tight hamstrings might be another issue that can actually create a not healthy atmosphere in your lower back. So stretching your hamstrings, let's try to do that here. Stretching might for you look like this, actually bending your knees quite a lot, because then you're stretching your Achilles here. But if you want your hamstrings, that's the part from the knee towards your hip, you might want to move the hip further back, lowering down the heels somewhat. And don't stand in a stretch that hurts you. Maybe, if you're not super flexible, you will feel it, but that's it. Not more than just feeling it. Beautiful. Now we're gonna move on to our elbows. You might move your shoulders a little bit. We're gonna do plank pose. But why? You might ask. Because a core is also important. Front and back is important. Now you can stand on your feet, or if you want to go a little bit easier on yourself, knees are great for that. So strengthen your thigh, navel squeezed in as much as you can. It makes it hard to breathe, but we try. And let go. I hope you survived that. Coming down all the way. Hands stacked, forehead on the hands. Now we're going to strengthen the back and also the glutes somewhat. It's going to be diagonal lifts, which means you can take your right leg up. Try not to bend it. You will not get the hamstrings involved as much. So stretch, right leg, left arm up. Now I have my thumb moving up. That's something to do with the shoulder joint. And then lower down. Opposite side. Your right arm, your left leg up. And coming down. Now you can relax your forehead on the mat. I will hold my head, otherwise the microphone is too loud. But just keep moving slowly up and down, changing from left to right side. If you happen to be pregnant or this doesn't feel good at all, doing this one in tabletop is also an option. Now try to lift through the heel, kind of kick your heel back like you're shooting energy out of the back heel. Yeah. Let's go for 4, 3, lift, and 2, and then just the last one. 1. Hands together, forehead on the hands, and relax. You can do your windshield this way. So you bend your knees and let your feet move together as you kind of wave your feet from side to side. And let go. We're gonna do a little bit more. Try to think as like a triangle, actually. So your toes are together as much as possible. And then as you lift your feet off the mat, try to widen the distance in between your legs. You can point your toes here just to begin with. So create some distance in between your feet if it doesn't hurt your hip. And then as you lower down, you kind of gather your feet again. It's like a triangular funnel, I would say. So lift up, space in between your feet. As you lower down, feet moves together. If you can come all the way together, that's great. Now if you come up and you want to flex your feet, you can get further into your glutes, if that's desirable, to create some strength there on the back and the sides of the glutes. So slowly moving up and out to center and back. And let's do that 3 more times. Now the floor is really cracking here. I'm really happy it's not my back saying all these noises. And when you're done, I hope you feel tired in your lower back. Let's give our back a squeeze the other way, which means you come up into tabletop and move your spine this way. And you might feel that we've been working here in the lower back quite a bit. And it feels hopefully great to stretch it a little bit. Relax and sit down on the mat with your feet pointed to the front. Before we did a forward fold, standing, I want to do it seated. If you have any hip issues, you might feel impinged here a little bit in your hip as you move forward. Try to widen the distance just to see if that makes any difference. Now we want to focus on our lower back for stretch. So if you lean forward and you feel everything on the back here, you might want to bend the knees. Either a fist or maybe socks or a pillow, blocks underneath your knees. So I'm going to put my fist down here because this is what I have right now. I'll have my sitting bones on the mat, lean forward with my navel as the first thing that might want to hit the thighs. And this might be all. If there's more space in your lower back, lean forward, maybe close your eyes so that your chest moves further down. Relax everything. And remind yourself that you don't have to move into your deepest, most intense stretch right away. Relax your legs. And after staying in a stretch a few moments, you might feel, all right, there's more space. I can move further to the front. But again, I don't want to overdo anything. And then round your back, coming back into what we call staff pose, which is basically sitting really tall and strong. So you take your hands, palms down here by your hip. Now, depending on the length of everything here, you might have to bend your elbows, you might really have to stretch your arms. But anyway, sitting strong, and if you can lift a little bit just to engage your arms, move your shoulder blades back, you can do that. And sit down. Last thing is a spinal twist, which is awesome for most backs. My back, when I feel a little bit closed or tired in my lower back, often due to not being seated correctly. My back tends to crack a little bit in these postures. So if yours does too, it might just be a way of releasing. Now the easiest way is to gather your knees somewhat 90 degrees and move them to the side. If you want more, if you know that you're flexible, you can take the right leg and cross it. But don't do this if you're new, just by your side if you're new to this. All right, move to your right side, coming all the way onto your side. I would say like you're resting in your bed on the side, that much with your hip. Right arm can take a hold of the leg, either crossed or just put it on top of each other, and that free arm moving out. Maybe just hanging on a block or bending your elbows, taking a hold of yourself here might be more comfortable. Just to deepen the stretch towards your neck, you can move your head and look towards the arm opposite of your legs. And move your breath deep down. And let's switch sides, meaning coming back on your back and take a breath with your feet on the mat. And then, as before, 90-degree angle in your knees and move to your left side, crossing the top leg on top if that works for you. If you feel the stretch here, if you feel it's really getting somewhere, we tend to tighten up. So try to relax. In my body, when I feel this, I tighten up, and when I relax, that's where the release in my lower back might happen. And to move out of that spinal twist. And then hucking in your knees. But make sure your lower back stays on the mat. We don't want to lift the back off the mat. And giving yourself a little bit of a massage on the mat. I hope that you feel better in your lower back now. Maybe more relaxed or tight in another way, because you've been moving your back and strengthening it, which can change a little bit of the dynamic. So if you're ready, come into a seated posture and maybe notice your own movement patterns during the next week. Are you hinging out to the side? I might want to stand to show you this. So a lot of us are standing, when we're standing, maybe on one leg like this, leaning over, which could create a lot of length here on this side and tightness on this side. And that is due to go wrong at some point in your lower back. So notice that. Another thing, notice if you're carrying, especially if you're carrying kids, lifting up, holding things, leaning back like this, puts a lot of pressure on your lower back. So if you're holding kids, engage your core, maybe bending down your knees and try to stand a little bit lower like this instead of leaning back. So notice how you move. If you want to improve and do what you can do without a help from a physician to improve any lower back pain. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you will watch the next video that I have here on my channel. Bye. Before you close the laptop, thank you so much for helping me reach out with CrossYoga by you subscribing, liking, leaving a comment, every single person counts here. So thank you so much for taking the time to help me offer you free yoga also in the future.